probably won't be able to see me though.
We are.
I think the worst one of all time is probably the meeting with the PLA. That was probably the worst meeting I've ever been to. This was probably the worst.
Can you hear me?
That's how bad it was. Like there wasn't a lot of good to overshadow the bad.
Can you see me? Yeah.
We need to turn the screen up just a little bit.
Like this way?
Appreciate it.
And is this a good spot for me to stand?
And you understand off to the left of her right, just a little more. That's fine.
Right here?
Even with all the long public comments.
What's the countdown say? Okay, yeah, it is for. Okay.
This is a test. How does it sound, Harwood? It's perfect.
quiet. Does that mean it's ready to start? Can you hear me back there? Good morning, everybody. How are you? Good morning. It's nice to see you. So we had another meeting last night. It went great, lively. I'll talk about that. But after every board meeting, cabinet gets together and we debrief, maybe about 45 minutes. And I said, circle meeting tomorrow. Who's going to be there? And I saw mine was the only hand in the air. I'm like, guys, it's Wednesday, circle meeting. No one other hand went up. And they said, oh man, you're going to be by yourself? Oh, what are you going to say? We don't know if we can trust you. And then I see Ryan walking in this morning. I think he's here as a spy. A true story, right? Last night?
Sure.
So glad that you're here, Ryan. But we had a good night. You don't feel like you're welcome here now, do you?
No. That's all right.
Ryan's always welcome. But last night was a good board meeting, and today there's a lot of stuff going on. I think there's a deep equity conference down in Murrieta that several of the folks are to, and Latino Network has their morning meeting that folks are to, and so it just happens that it fell that way today. So you're with Ryan and you're with me. He's a spy today. So. All righty. Welcome to all those that are watching the live stream. So last night on the agenda, these are the big things. I'll run through them, and I'll have Ryan come up here and talk a little bit about the college and career ready presentation, because it was his team that gave that last night. That's one of the priorities and indicators that we have locally as well as the state. But it was a cool thing, and this is really, really good work. Again, what Ed Services is doing, but we signed a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, and we had the new president, Dr. Furr, from La Sierra University. First female president at that university, I think, ever. Is it ever? Or 50 years? I think it's ever. Just wonderful, wonderful lady. And so like we did with Laverne, like we have done with Cal Baptist, we did with La Sierra last night, all of our freshmen can get a $10,000 scholarship every year for 4 years. That's $40,000. They get early admissions if they meet the A through G, and I believe have a C requirement, which is the A through G. They get a lot of parental support as they're transitioning from high school. It's just really cool to see how our local universities are partnering with us in our ESD. So kudos. Let's give Ed Services a big round of applause. Oh, and it's free to apply. They waive admissions fees at all those universities. So huge, huge win. So between those universities and RCC, which isn't just free to apply, but RCC free to attend for that first year, it's pretty cool to see the partnerships that we're having with higher ed in our school district. So again, kudos to Dr. Lewis and his team who's really doing this work. And so last night we had an MOU signing, big thing on the stage, cameras, and then we took a recess because the punch and cookies were over there. And we just did some mingling and stuff like that. So it started off our evening in a really positive way. And then also, a good friend of our districts and mine personally, February is Black History Month. And African American history is U.S. history. And we have usually, for the last several years, had a speaker come in and teach us and remind us about what that U.S. history is. Hardy Brown, although he does not live in Riverside, he's very, very connected to the whole Inland Empire and to Riverside. It's his mother that started the Black Voice, the newspaper here locally. And now that second generation, Paulette Brown Hines is his sister, and of course Hardy, and I think there might be another sibling. They run the Black Voice, but they do a lot of great work. Great work. You've heard of Footsteps to Freedom, where you follow the Underground Railroad. Hardy's in charge of that. He started that. He does that. You've heard of HBCU, Historically Black Colleges and Universities, and we have that fair at King High School. Hardy helped bring that in because he's a graduate of an HBCU, and he attended. And so Jessica Brown Hines in our district in Riverside lives in Lake Matthews, and she is the president of our district-wide African American Parent Advisory Committee. And we meet monthly, just like I do with DLAC or the English learners, just like PTA. And back in the fall, Jessica said, Dave, can we do a kickoff for Black History Month? And can we find the speaker and plan it? I said, that'd be great. And so she reached out to Hardy, brought in Hardy, and he gave, I think, one of the very best presentations we've had around the history and about their journey to freedom and their journey to have the same rights as everyone else in this country has the same rights. He just did a beautiful job. And he brought artifacts, and he had our student board member from North, Freddie, put on the white gloves and hold up some artifacts from the 1800s. And he talked about the journey, again, to be free and to be inclusive in this country and to get rid of racism and institutional racism or covert racism. I mean, he just did a beautiful job. And Hardy, he's just a great guy. So anything you want to add to that? I see people that were there. Would you agree? Yeah.
He does a great job.
It was really, really good. So that's what we did last night. And then the meeting began, yet we've been going for an hour and a half. It was one of those meetings. A lot of celebrations up front. That's what made it go a little long. Proposition 13 is a resolution last night that we signed as a board, and we're going to do press release and send it out there. I don't want to confuse us what Prop 13 is. In the 1970s, I think around 75, 76, Prop 13 in California was a proposition that put a cap and really lowered our property taxes here in this state. Some of the lowest property taxes throughout the country is here in this state. We might be high in other taxes, but lowest property tax. And they call that Property 13. And it's been talked about now for decades. Well, you hear about state capital facilities bonds that helps districts build schools. We passed one at the statewide in 2016 for $6 billion. And that's where we keep saying our local bond of $400 million, we can turn into $600 million because we get matching dollars from the state. That's from that state bond in 2016. There is another state capital facilities bond in March on the primary elections. And I don't know who assigns and numbers the bonds, but this bond happens to be called Prop 13. So it's a lot of confusion, but it has nothing to do with the old Prop 13 that was passed and still is in place. This is another capital facilities bond that districts can match should you're eligible. We currently have 35 projects that are eligible for matching dollars. It would bring us in, Sergio said last night, or May is one of them, about $260 million. So that $400 million is going to turn into $660 million. It's a $15 billion bond from San Diego all the way up to Humboldt, the whole state. If you're a property owner, you vote on this. And of that 15 billion, 9 billion would be for schools K through 12, 2 billion for community college, 2 billion for Cal State, 2 billion for UC. And so last night the board passed a resolution. As a school board, we are in favor and going to publicly support this capital facilities bond that's on the primary election on our ballot. And if we do, we can again turn our 400 million into $6.75 million. And so that's what this was last night, Prop 13. All right? Are we good so far? All right. And then the last one is the district priority, college and career ready. I'll let Ryan come up and talk about that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I always wanted to be a spy. It's kind of cool. So number one, as Dr. Hansen talked about, just as a public service announcement, if you know anybody that has a senior in high school, and their FAFSA is not complete, call them, text them, tweet them, whatever you do, post it everywhere. This is FAFSA season.
What is that?
And all of these pieces we're talking about with seniors going to college, if they do not fill out their FAFSA form, they're not eligible for any financial aid package for higher ed. So the FAFSA form is what you have to complete as a senior to decide if you're eligible for not only any state or federal dollars, but any grants or scholarships or anything that you get becomes part of that FAFSA package. So if you know anybody, reach out and tell them, make sure your FAFSA is completed. We've done a great job setting up opportunities for students, but we want to make sure they can get in that door, and it starts with FAFSA. So by March 2nd, they've got to be done. So please, just as a PSA, text everybody, call everybody, school sites. Thank you for what you're doing, making sure our FAFSAs are completed, and you are opening doors for kids, so thank you. Not the topic I was coming to talk about, but it just fits. So last night, Dr. Angulo gave an update on our college and career index. So this is another one of the 5x5 data reports that come out on the dashboard from the state of California every year, and talks about how our juniors and seniors are doing in high school, seniors when they're leaving, and that course of study. But before I get into this, it's also known as a CCI. Before I get into that, it is all grounded in how students do in English language arts and mathematics. And there's a lot of times when we talk to even kindergarten teachers, this is everybody's data. This doesn't just rest with the high schools or the senior teacher that they're working through. Our system from preschool when they're 3 to when they leave at 18, this is the whole journey all coming out of one indicator, and our indicators are trending upwards. So congratulations to everybody in the system, and we are seeing that long effort coming forward. So what is CCI? College and Career Index is something the state has created, and they demonstrate that students leave either prepared, approaching prepared, or not prepared. Or they fit in one of those 3 buckets. To be prepared in the state's eyes when you leave high school, you have to fill one of 7 pathways to demonstrate preparedness. And that can be demonstrating with A through G complete and scores on SBAC, on math or ELA, or you can have JROTC and complete that through military science. You can have a seal of biliteracy. You can pass AP exams. There's 7 different ways to get there. The important thing to understand about the indicator is some students get there all 7 ways, if that makes sense. They check this box, they meet this requirement, they meet this requirement. From the state's eyes, all 7 only count as 1. So when we look at our data, while we have roughly 3,000 graduating seniors, if no matter how many ways you get there, the state says 1's enough. You don't need to get there multiple ways. So what we laid out last night is part 1 of 2 for the board of what that entails. And the first thing we talked about was A through G preparedness when you leave high school. And remember, A through G is a series of 15 courses through electives, English, math, science, lab science, social science, visual and performing arts, and foreign language that students have to complete before they graduate. If you complete those 15 courses with a C or better, then you are considered A through G complete. It has gone from 46% last year to 50% this year. That means half of our graduates are leaving A through G complete, which opens doors for them to the UC and CSU system. This is a California thing. So for students that go to school out of state, not a requirement. It's an in-state requirement. So we talked about the efforts. Now, one thing we talked about, just knowing we have some people live streaming, the work that school sites have done, along with Jorge Perez in partnership with the county, they are going student by student looking at transcripts to find out if there's something that we as the adults either missed and making sure we catch and look twice, or if there's 1 or 2 classes that we could tweak a student's schedule to get them back on track. As a district, we had somewhere between 100 and 150 students through the school sites get moved back on track at the beginning of this year, and about 60% of them are staying on track. So just to put that in perspective, 100 more students, 60 of them are now going to be A through G complete to open up doors in our state that wouldn't have been through the work of our counselors, our administrators, our teachers, the district office, and the county. So just compliments to all of you, and can we give them a round of applause? It is a lot of work. You've all seen transcripts for your children, and they go line by line, grade by grade, making sure that everything is accurate and opening doors. So that was the A through G side. Then we gave a brief update on AP and IB, which is Advanced Placement and International Baccalaureate. The IB program is at North. AP classes are offered at all of our high schools. And in summary, what we talked to the board about Remember the 7 ways we talked about? Part of that also is dual enrollment. And we're working a lot with our colleges on providing college experience for high school students at no charge so they receive college credit. And we've talked about that, and we'll talk about that more after the February 18th meeting. But what that's doing is it's having students be able to have options. So if you were a student, the only way to get college credit maybe 10 years ago was to take an AP or IB course. That was the only way. You'd pay to take the exam. If you got a 3 or better, you were eligible for college credit, and then depending on the institution you went to, they would decide whether or not that credit would count. So I'm seeing nods, so you've lived that world and you know what that is. Now what students are doing is they are still staying on that AP IB pathway, but other doors are opening as well. So students, we may not see every one of those indicators continue to climb, but you're seeing other indicators climb with it. So AP numbers across the district, our pass rate is up, but our numbers of exams taken are down a little bit because some of those students are choosing to take dual enrollment options rather than AP options. So just something to consider. And then IB at North is found that over time they're seeing more students drop in and take IB classes, but not necessarily stay in IB for the diploma, which again, students have options. So our goal is to give them as many options as they can when they graduate as a senior. So whether they choose to open a business, go to the workforce, go to RCC, go to higher ed, go to the military, they have every option open to them as possible is the goal. So we're seeing that across all of our indicators. And then we wrapped up and then talked about at our next board meeting, we're going to talk more about dual enrollment and all of our higher ed involvement and all the opportunities that are coming to our students and to our school sites. So that was a quick update on CCI. Any questions from either a parent lens or an employee lens that you're wondering anywhere on the college career indicator side? Any FAFSA questions? We're good? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. And then last night, there's always opportunity for the public to come and address the board and do public comments. And we had a number of speakers, maybe 20, 25 speakers, ranging in topics from all really around Measure O in the bond, supporting neighborhood schools. A lot of speakers reminding the board that they're excited to get a neighborhood school in Casablanca and Eastside and High Grove and to keep that a priority. We had a couple in favor of STEM. We had several not in favor of STEM. We had individual schools coming and saying, hey, here's the needs that we have at our school. Don't forget us, board. And so that's just typical as the board continues to make priorities and starts the work. We also updated and reminded the board that we have 35 projects in line, shovel ready, ready to go. 5 of those are already in construction. 5 more are going to start in construction in 3 months from now. And so this work is moving forward. So it's exciting to see the literally hundreds of millions of dollars that's going into either updating our existing schools or enhancing our programs with new facilities and things such as that. And so we always welcome speakers from the community and we put the word out there. Matter of fact, as I get stopped in Albertsons or Stater Brothers and Brent, all the board does it, Brent Lee talked about last night, and they'll say, what can I do? I'll do my best to answer, but I'll say you can always come to the board and talk to the board because ultimately they're the decisions makers and the voters put them in place and elected them. And so we expect those kinds of speakers, especially during this kind of time when we're spending such big dollars on our facilities. And remember, we have a $1.5 billion need, and locally we generated $400 million, which we're grateful for. Statewide, we hope we can get enough to make that $675 million, but we still have a $1.5 billion need. And so not everything can get done right now, but over time, hopefully everything can get done. But again, it would go out to the voters, the will of the people, and we just don't know. We're grateful for what they did in 2016. And the last time we sold a bond was 10 years before that. Actually, it was 2000. It was about 16 years before that. So anyway, that was the night last night. And overall, as I said to Cheryl this morning, she said, how'd it go? I said, the board got some good stuff done. Long meeting when you have so many public speakers, but the board's moving forward and making some good decisions and getting work done. So great meeting last night. All right, do you want to hear something really cool? So last Thursday night was the State of the City Mayor Bailey, who's been mayor for 2 terms, has decided not to run, of course. Maybe you've heard about that, but it was his last State of the City. It was at the convention center. It was packed, well over 1,000 people. And every year, the mayor can give out one award to an individual or to an organization that is making a lasting difference for good in the city of Riverside. They call it the Hero Award. And I received a call just maybe a week before that the mayor had decided to give Riverside Unified School District this year the Hero Award for all the great work that we are doing in our school district with our business partnerships, but mainly around increasing the graduation rate that we've increased it up to 97%. And so we got that. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle, clap on. This is big. It's really big to get the love and support of the city, the mayor, the chamber who sponsors this event. When you look at the other organizations or individuals who are on that list over the years that this has been going on in our city of Riverside, this is the first for a public school to do this kind of thing. And so don't underestimate a 97% graduation rate, the work of ed services, the work of all of our teachers, the work from TK through 12, the work of counselors, administrators, huge. And it's been a heavy lift for a long time, and we're starting now to reap the benefits of the hard work, or reap the fruits, if you will. So that was another fun thing to share, along with the good things that Ryan shared with our college and career indicator last night. So just wanted to share that. All right, turn to a shoulder partner. You knew you couldn't get away. Turn to your shoulder partner and share one takeaway, one aha that you had from this morning's circle meeting. I'll give you 60 seconds. Go ahead and share or talk.
You don't have to worry about it. Catch your breath. See? It applies to everybody.
Are we good? All right. I won't have you share out, but thanks for joining us. And thank you for this team. Let's give this team, ILE. Not easy to live stream and get things set up, and they're here early to do it and have all this. And so thank you for allowing us just to walk in and do it, and for doing all of the work. On a more somber note, the board closed the meeting last night in memory of a few of our colleagues. Most recent was Randy Morales, who just passed away last Saturday. Randy works for the district for, I believe it was 31 years. He was our sound technician at all of our board meetings. And if you saw pictures of Randy, many of you would recognize him or know him. He just was a pleasant, wonderful individual who has been battling cancer for the last couple of years. And he left this world and went home back on Saturday. I was talking to his wife, Melissa, as I visited with their family on Saturday, and then again last night. They're planning the services, and they'll keep us posted as they go. But they closed the meeting with that, and so keep a good thought for Melissa and her family. And we closed the meeting last night in memory of Randy and just the legacy that he left and the life that he left. So we'll go ahead and close our circle meeting with him in memory too today. Okay? All right. Have a blessed day, everybody.